up with, okay, with the International Space Station. And so those who have been following me in previous classes, what is called Expedition 67 is the 67th long duration expedition to the International Space Station. Okay. So there are lots of short ones, okay, but this is the one that they stay there and get on with work. So the expedition began upon the departure of Soyuz on the 30th of March this year, with NASA astronaut Thomas Mashburn taking over as the station's commander. So initially, the expedition consisted of Mashburn and 3 SpaceX Crew 3 crewmates, as well as 3 Roscosmos cosmonauts who launched aboard their Soviet Soyuz on the 18th of March. And they transfer from the Expedition 66, their predecessors who were looking after the space station, okay? But, you know, the continued international collaboration between Russia and America now has been thrown in doubt. And, you know, after the Russian invasion of Ukraine and the related sanctions on Russia. So a lot of unknown activity that's going to, because we've been working alongside Russia. I say we, the Americans, have been working alongside Russia for a long, long time now. And Russia, you know, were really more advanced with a lot of their rockets and spaceships, and they were taking people to the space station and bringing them back. So we'll just have to wait and see what happens in the forthcoming. Fortunately, NASA has improved their rockets, and so has Elon Musk and his rocket. So I don't think they're going to be left standing because of that disruption. Anyway, what do they do quickly as an update on the space station? You know, they go about daily work, you know, like a lot of us used to do, you know, off to work and off to sleep in the evening. Now, this Expedition 67 opened up what you can see on the screen now, what is called BEAM. And there's the explanation of it, the BitLow Expandable Activity Module. Okay, but when I talk about BEAM in the future, that's what it is. Okay, so last week they conducted checks on this new apparatus and organized the hardware and so forth. So the orbital residents also continued their space botany and automated robotics research, as well as ongoing cargo operations. So the BEAM is an expandable habitat technology for the International Space Station specifically. So expandable habitats greatly decrease the amount of transport volume for future space missions. So these expandables require minimal payload volume on a rocket, but expand after being deployed in space to potentially provide a comfortable area for astronauts to live and work in. They also provide a varying degree of protection from solar and cosmic radiation, space debris, atomic oxygen, ultraviolet radiation, and other elements of space environment. So the NASA flight engineers worked inside the BEAM module, as you can see there in the image. This was on Friday last week, okay, and they were just checking things out. And Watkins opened BEAM on Friday morning, then replaced batteries and sensors and went through a good old checkup on everything to make sure everything was working well, and cleaned the vents but I'll give you an update on actually what these new people are doing that have arrived in the space station now for their long period, the Expedition 67, and more about the expandable and how it's doing. And I do a space program. You just got to watch out for it. But I just want to show you a quick video that will help explain. And this is on YouTube. Not on YouTube, what am I talking about? I'm talking about Facebook, okay? So you can go and look at it on Facebook too. This is the latest update. You can see it here.
Artemis 1 mega moon rocket is rolled to the launch pad. The astronauts of our Crew 2 mission come to Washington and investigating the impact of dust on our climate. A few of the stories to tell you about this week at NASA. On June 6th, teams at our Kennedy Space Center rolled our Space Launch System rocket, Orion spacecraft, and mobile launcher from the Vehicle Assembly Building to Launch Pad 39B to prepare for the next wet dress rehearsal test attempt ahead of the uncrewed Artemis 1 flight test. The wet dress rehearsal test is currently targeted for no earlier than June 19th. Our SpaceX Crew 2 astronauts, NASA's Shane Kimbrough and Megan MacArthur, Akihiko Hoshide of the Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, and the European Space Agency's Thomas Pesquet, visited the Washington, D.C. area during the week of June 6th to share experiences from their recent flight to the International Space Station. During a stop at our Mary W. Jackson NASA headquarters building, they met with NASA leadership and discussed their mission with employees. They also attended an event hosted by the Ambassador of France to the United States, during which the French space agency CONQuests became the 20th country to sign the Artemis Accords. The Crew 2 astronauts and their Crew Dragon Endeavour spacecraft spent 199 days in orbit, a record for the longest spaceflight by a U.S. crewed spacecraft. The Earth Surface Mineral Dust Source Investigation, or EMIT, is one of the primary payloads scheduled for delivery to the International Space Station on the SpaceX CRS-25 cargo mission. The investigation will use NASA-invented imaging technology to identify the composition of mineral dust from Earth's arid regions and analyze dust carried through the atmosphere from deserts to see what effects it has on the Earth system and to human populations. The CRS-25 cargo mission is currently targeted to launch no earlier than June 28th. The main body of our Europa Clipper spacecraft was delivered recently to our Jet Propulsion Laboratory in Southern California. Engineers and technicians there will finish assembling the spacecraft by hand, then test it to make sure it can withstand the journey to Jupiter's icy moon Europa. Targeted for launch in October 2024, the mission will make nearly 50 flybys of the Jovian moon, which is believed to have an underground ocean that contains twice as much water